the world's problems are overwhelming. If you can manage one small part of it, then maybe you can start to believe that actually you can manage quite a lot of it. The 2-Minute Beach Clean was a project that came about just because I was walking on a beach in Devon and I was wading through plastic bottles, and I was so furious. And as someone who loved the beach, I couldn't believe that it was being so trashed. In 2013, we had a really bad storm here in North Cornwall. It was called Hercules. The rubbish that was left after it was just horrendous. I was walking on Crooklets Beach and just sort of picked up a bag of rubbish and just thought, well, I'd pick up this one and then I'll go back and get another one. And this idea started forming in my mind that we need to use a bit of human nature, and we can use the internet, social media to try and encourage people to come down and help. Everybody's got a couple of minutes, you can't refuse it. So the idea was that we'll just ask people for 2 minutes of their time to do a little beach clean. And if we get enough people to do beach cleans in between the big beach cleans, then actually it'll make the big beach cleans easier. And if we get enough people to do it, then actually we won't have to do big beach cleans at all. The beach clean stations on the beaches where you've got litter pickers and bags, they can borrow a bag and off you go. And we trialled it on the beach here in Bude. 6 years later, we've got nearly 900 of them around the UK. And in that first year of that beach clean station being on Crooklets Beach, there was a 61% drop in the amount of litter that was being picked up by the beach cleans. And so the idea that, hang on a second, we've got 900 beaches, and each beach is hopefully resulting in a 61% drop in the litter that's being picked up on those beaches, then we're making a difference.
Come on then.
Right then, Simon, so welcome to the beach in Bude.
Thank you.
We're going to go and see a place that the locals call Crap Cove, which is a gathering spot for plastics and ocean-borne debris. Thought you might find it quite interesting. So I imagine you've seen some grubby beaches in your time.
And I've seen a fair bit of grubby planet, yes.
Well, yeah, exactly. This place generally is pretty clean, but for some reason all the swell and all the plastic sort of seems to end up here from all around, which is easy if you want to clean it, but quite heartbreaking when you go up there and you think, oh, I can only manage a certain amount.
Right, well, I haven't seen a lot of that in this country. I've seen some really dirty beaches.
Yeah.
Beaches that are rapidly becoming plastic beaches, frankly, and
Yeah.
which has shocked and deeply upset me, actually.
Yeah, I can imagine it would.
But I suppose perhaps this year, this summer, having been closer to home, I've seen a bit more of the reality we face in this country as well. Can we talk about how things have changed? In the first 10 years of the 21st century, we created more plastic than in the entirety of the 20th century. And our creation and use and disposal of plastic is increasing still exponentially year after year, and more of it is going into the sea. Are you seeing that on beaches here and when you're surfing?
I mean, in terms of what we're picking up, we're seeing smaller stuff, lots and lots of smaller stuff. So the stuff that's historically been on the beaches is breaking down into smaller bits. The beach cleaners are picking up this stuff because it's big.
Yeah.
But actually, when you start to dig in the pebbles here, that's where probably the bulk of it is.
My job and responsibility, very lucky me, has been travelling around this planet and trying to make a little bit of sense while I'm on my journeys of what on earth is going on out there. And I have found myself on, well, any number of beaches, but in particular I would think of a beach in Hawaii, which are islands in the middle of nowhere, of course, in the Pacific, and we went to this remote beach on this remote island that was, to my absolute horror, rapidly becoming a plastic beach. And by that I mean, yes, as you're saying exactly, there was the big pieces of plastic on the surface, but as you started to dig down, you found all these tiny fragments of plastic. And that was when the hairs started going up on the back of my neck, and I feel a bit of a lump in my throat as I think of it now, because it was such an emotional awakening as I kind of realised what we are doing as a species to our planet. Because of course this plastic does not biodegrade, and it will be transformed in front of our eyes into something that is fundamentally different and I would say a bit poisoned.
Well, it's toxic, you know, but because of the nature of its makeup. It's a you know, carbon. Fish are attracted to small bits of plastic, and seagulls are attracted to small bits of plastic because of the nature of the chemicals, that they attract natural pollutants. And actually it smells like food to them, so that anything that eats that, or that anything that eats the fish that eats the small bits, you know, and eventually it will come back to us. And I think every sample of mussels sampled in UK waters has got microfiber in it. You know, and that's terrifying because we eat mussels. That means that we are eating our own mess. Awful toxins entering our body, and we're doing it to ourselves, for crying out loud.
Do you think it's a sort of fundamental problem with human psychology? I've been with indigenous people in incredibly remote parts of the world. I remember being with the Kogi people in a very remote part of Colombia. They're very spiritually connected with Mother Nature and the land. And yet we went with them to see a power station that was a long distance away, and they stopped and they bought some plastic water bottles. And then after they'd finished drinking one of the bottles, the plastic sort of film that was holding the bottles together, I saw one of them just chuck it away. I was like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. And I sort of went over to pick it up in a bit of a huff and stormed over. And then we had an anthropologist with us who was looking after them and protecting them from us. And he said, oh, I think they knew I would pick that up. And I thought, oh my goodness, isn't that the problem?
Yeah.
We all think somebody else is going to clear
Somebody
up
else is
after
going to
us.
sort it out. Yeah.
How do we change that? How do we
God,
change that mindset?
I don't know. We try and understand what makes us human. These are fundamental human traits, aren't they? That we're too lazy to deal with stuff. You know, we want to get on with the exciting things rather than dealing with the rubbish. And we just need to learn. We need to learn what we're doing.
People don't see the consequences of their actions generally, do they? And we are quite disconnected from where our stuff comes from and where it goes after we finish with it. And I've met, for example, this very bemused village lady on an island off the coast of Kenya near the Somali border, and she was so baffled about where is all this plastic rubbish coming from. And there they were picking up flip-flops by the 100 every day. And she said to me, we don't understand. They started turning up a few years ago, and now more and more of them come. Where are they coming from? She was in a very disconnected part of the planet. They didn't have the internet there. They weren't able to read The Guardian online. But she was experiencing the consequences of our throwaway, disposable society. And just as a little bit of hope in the situation, her community was actually gathering up the flip-flops and moulding them into art projects, like creating an enormous dolphin and an elephant and selling them to art galleries. It was brilliant and beautiful. But that was just one place where they were doing it. There were 1,000 beaches further down the coast where the rubbish was just rolling in.
Having seen some of the things that you must have seen on your travels, do you manage to keep a kind of positive spin on it? Or how do you cope personally with seeing all this stuff?
I'd say with varying degrees of success is how I cope. I suppose I never want to be unaffected by it, and I get very emotional about it actually sometimes. The more so, the more humans are involved in it. I do get angry, I do cry a bit when I see something horrific, definitely, but I still like to think we're not quite at the brink and we could pull ourselves back, but my goodness, we're getting close.
How do we come back from that? Because as an individual, what can we do? Is it possible, is it in our power to do anything about this stuff?
We are fantastically powerful, actually. Together, collectively and individually, we do have a lot of power, not just through the internet, of course, but through how we spend our money, through how we vote, through the causes and the issues that we get behind and we promote and we support. So yes, we do have a lot of individual and collective power, and I think we should be using that more deliberately and with more understanding and focus. Yes, it can be not buying the vegetables that are unnecessarily wrapped in plastic, but can also be on a more fundamental level saying we don't want to go on like this. Companies that are creating a lot of this stuff don't want to be doing it. They're just trying to make money and feed their employees' families as well. We need a more focused community, national response to it. There has been some talk of people putting filters through the sea, of projects to sieve out plastic from the ocean. And whenever I've heard that suggested or people have said it to me, I just think it's inconceivable to me that anything we can create as humans could possibly deal with the scale of the amount of plastic we have put into our seas.
Yeah.
We cannot sieve it out. We've got to stop it from going into the sea and into our soil in the first place.
Everybody wants to carry on as they were.
Yeah.
And hope that someone else will sort it out for them, and whereas my project is, well, hang on a second, we've got to get everybody on board with this. We know that plastic emits climate change gases. We know that this is a climate change problem as well as just a pollution and plastic problem, and yet the corporations, they're piling their money into petrochemicals, which is plastic, and they're selling us this idea that recycling is good because it allows them to keep making stuff. And actually recycling is not the answer. We've just got to stop using it. Don't use it. Then if you don't use it, it won't exist. Let's get back to, where we come from. Fjallraven produce bags out of 12, I think, of bottles like this. So actually there are uses for it, and there are people that are trying to do good.
When people actually see, okay, this is made from recycled plastic bottles.
It has a value.
That is so much better for us and our planet than something that's just been made from raw petrochemicals. For generations now, we've all been told you can do anything, be anything, have what you want, consume what you want. And actually now I think we need to get to a more sustainable model where we're buying more thoughtfully, we're buying stuff that actually lasts, that does a proper job for a proper period of time and isn't chucked away after a day, a week, a month, a year. And I hope that's the direction of travel that we're going in. But if it's not one that we as the public go to, then I absolutely think the government should be leading and guiding us on that, because that's what leadership should be about. We need a greener, better future that's more sustainable.
I believe that we have power as consumers because this is a consumer society, and if we decide that we don't want it, then it won't be available. But then you've got a massive job of educating a huge number of people who love to get fast fashion items and who love to get cheap clothes, and they have little value because they are so cheap, but just they're good because they're new. Whereas actually, hopefully people like you and I will buy things because they're made to last. I've got a pair of socks on that are called Long Last socks, and they last for years, and they're made of wool, it's sustainable, and they're just really beautifully made. The sad thing is they are quite expensive. So
but better than buying 10 pairs of rubbishy ones that are going to wear through every week or so. Having learnt a bit about what you're doing and why you do it, I would just like to say that I really want to sign up myself. I really want to do it myself. I really want to encourage people watching this to log on to your website and get involved and do it as well, because it's a brilliant idea and it's a real necessity. I think it's almost a requirement, because we need to reclaim our seas from the rubbish. We need to recognise what the problem is. We all need to get in touch with it and understand that this stuff is all of our consumption and creation, and we're all responsible for it whether we know it or not, and we all need to be involved in picking it up and stop it from going in the sea in the first place.